Yeah, I mean, just,
Okay. If we could stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to officially call the meeting to order and to welcome you all. It's good to see everybody here. And I want to officially welcome our new member, Roberta Urbani. Welcome aboard, Roberta. Glad to have you. Would you prefer to call Roberta Bert or Berta?
I go by Bert.
Bert,
Bert.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard, Bert.
Well, thank you.
Hope you have an enjoyable time with us.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, I think all of you have had copies of the meeting minutes that were prepared for June 4th and the special meeting that we had on July 16th at the conference room. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted, or are there any changes that should be made?
Motion to approve as printed.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Just the spelling on Leah's last name is wrong.
Okay.
Schelke. There's no CK.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, Leah isn't here tonight, so okay. There's no additions to the agenda.
There is a request that I turned into you to speak about the Dump the Junk event, having in conjunction with that a e-waste event
Okay.
on Saturday only.
We can talk about that when we talk about the dump the junk. Okay.
And then you want, under other items, do you want to put in what we had discussed?
Which was?
I was hoping you'd remember.
It's in a metal block.
Was it the open space sign?
Oh, yeah, please. Okay, we can talk about that we'll make that number 5, open space signs. Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? If not, then we can proceed. Since Leah is not here, we certainly don't have a report as far as recreation, unless you have something, Wally. No?
No, not from Recreation.
Okay. Wally, any other items for township updates?
The bike path on Horse Mill is gorgeous. It is well on its way to being completed. The sewer work, which is planned for the last end of it, the east end of the bike path, should be starting in the next week to 10 days.
Okay.
Shouldn't take long to finish it. We are now planning a ribbon cutting ceremony on the 29th, which is a Sunday.
September?
Bet.
That's September
I took the
29th?
bet,
You took the bet?
and I won the bet.
I know, because it isn't done.
It is done.
No, it's not.
Here, when is it scheduled then?
I'll say when it's done.
It's not done.
It's done when I say it's done.
No, it's not
I
done.
can run on the bike path, and that's
Well, fine, it isn't done.
When's the
what's
ribbon
it
cutting
do?
ceremony? The 29th?
29th.
29th.
He's going to act up.
And where
right
is
in the
it at?
beginning. It looks like it's going to be, right now, tentatively planned for the east end, right across from the church.
Yeah.
And we are going to use at their invitation, the church parking lot.
Okay.
And they have agreed to graciously supply lemonade and cookies, which is nice.
You gotta shut off Horse Mill for a minute or two?
We haven't talked about that. I said tentatively. So it's not done.
Yeah, I know it isn't done.
Don't act up.
Also,
You should, you would have been able to put a rowboat in it, when we got that 4 inches of rain that night.
Well, that's what held it up, wasn't it?
Well, its primary problem has been water.
Yeah.
But, everybody just held it up. We had a contract with the man that said, I'll have it done by November 15th. He's going to have it done, so it's not held up.
how come
Well, he
there's,
had to be delayed when we got all that water.
Sure, we got delayed on a lot of his projects from water, but he did have a clear contract that said we're not going to hold him in default unless he goes past November 15th.
how come there's a space between the sidewalk and the cement part and the asphalt on Horseman? This far.
I saw that, and I'm going to ask that question myself.
I mean,
Why not fill it in with asphalt?
yeah, or throw it in with rock because it's going to grow and somebody's going to have to cut it.
I saw it.
Okay. What are we going to do about the arborvitae? You're going to put gasoline on it?
Where?
Horse Mill?
What do you mean, what are we going to do? I mean, that's a question I'm not aware of.
Okay, coming coming east from Meridian,
Yeah?
between the road and the bike path. There's arborvitae sitting there, and it's growing. It's been growing for years.
Maybe we need to trim it.
It won't trim. You
We
gotta
need to
burn it.
take a look at it.
Yeah, I can't
Take a
tell
look
you
at it
that without
first.
looking at it. I've not been aware of it.
I
Okay,
haven't
well,
seen
it's not gonna go away.
Yeah.
Just look what happened over there.
it. We'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, give us a chance to look at it. We'll take care of
Okay.
it. But for all intents and purposes, it's a nice addition.
Oh, it's beautiful, and people really love it.
I'm trying to get a response from somebody on behalf of Brian Loftus. Brian, as township supervisor, has the right to pick who cuts the ribbon there. And he's asked me to ask somebody very special, and I haven't got a response from that person yet, but I don't anticipate it to be a no. So you'll be surprised when you hear who cuts it. Okay?
Anybody can cut it.
No, it's not going to be just anybody,
Why not?
because we're not going to stand for just anybody.
Put Wayne in charge.
Somebody's gonna put the pants on 2 legs at a
Yeah,
time.
right. Okay, let's keep going here.
Okay, all right.
We'll
Well,
be here all night.
there's always one.
How many interruptions have been from him?
All right, since we don't have anybody here from the public, we'll just, there's no public comment on the agenda items, so let's proceed with the first item, which is the trail survey. Pat?
Let's
What
back
what
up.
happened to Cliff?
What happened to Cliff?
Oh,
For Dale and Roberta Rabani from the
you know what,
Conservancy.
see, that was a test.
See what happens when you start messing around?
That was an old test from him.
Okay,
Take a break.
as far as property acquisitions, you have a spreadsheet that I've given you some time ago about the properties that we have proposed that are on the market that's being looked at. Dale, I talked to him today. There's no progress being made. The problem is that one of the properties that's in question is the seller wants too high a price for it, and we're not willing to pay that price, and that's where we stand.
Now, let's not get into that routine again, okay?
No, that's,
Let's
Yeah.
just
Well,
hold
we've
off
been
on
down
it.
that path.
yeah, that's why we're holding fast on it.
Yeah,
That's
hold
why
off
they're
on it.
holding fast. So that's all I have to report as far as property acquisitions. And Roberta, do you have anything as far as the Conservancy is concerned?
I really don't, The
Okay.
Conservancy is, I think they're happy to have a liaison to the Open Space Committee. We're looking forward to, working
Sure.
more closely with the committee again, so.
Absolutely.
Let me chime in on
Well,
that.
Pat did a nice job with that, so.
The simple fact of the matter of you being here and on this committee is a great conduit between both committees. There's 2 other committees that need to get involved in that concert. One of them is the Recreation Commission, and the other one is the Bike Path, because that's the 4 committees that really deal with everything outdoors in Grosse Ile. It really is. I don't think there's any debate about it. others. And there's a need to sing in concert to get enough volume to make our joint effort, our joint objective of making Grosse Ile a desirable and more desirable place to live. And you can't do it singing solo. You have to have a choir. And so that's, I guess, what I really look forward to. I've known Doug for many years, and I'm trying to think of the lady president.
Liz?
Liz. Liz served on committees with me for many years too, and I think they all agree with this. We have to start singing together.
So why don't we have like a semi-annual joint meeting?
I don't have a problem with that. I'm just, we got the pieces in place now.
We do have they do have an annual meeting, the Conservancy does, which I usually attend. I didn't
okay.
attend the last one,
Well, that's good.
yeah. But if they want to have a joint meeting, so be it. Maybe you might want to approach the Conservancy to see about it.
Not even necessarily a formal meeting, but just
Right.
Just,
gathering of all
just
four
together.
commissions in one room together, and
Well, if nothing else, we can meet and greet and know each other, and it makes it easier to work together if you know a name and a face.
Right,
Right.
absolutely,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. So it's not a formal meeting, it's just
No,
a
just a-
get together. Maybe we can have it the same weekend that the Conservancy has their annual meeting. They usually have it at the Recreation Department.
Right.
Okay. So,
let's figure it out.
okay. Okay, but anything else? Okay, if not, Pat, the trail survey?
Okay. The trails survey, Brian Pollock and I have not been able to get together, but based on the work that Pat Selby and I did previously, and the sample surveys that Brian did send me electronically, I think that by the October meeting, I'd like to present to the group a draft of what
What has been done.
we have so far.
Okay.
And that way, we can at least have our piece of the pie put together and finalize or determine how we want to distribute and get the survey out to the residents.
Okay.
It may not necessarily work to do it as a joint survey. So I think we need, after we look at what we have,
Certainly.
and give us another month of trying to coordinate with Brian, who's had a very heavy workload at work, and he feels bad about it, but he's one of those people who still does the WORK, you know?
He's
Can't
not
understand
retired?
that.
Madam, are you referring to anybody else in this?
Well, I was only looking that way.
See, everybody's retired, and I'm just tired.
Yeah, Pat,
Yeah.
the way you're going on, it seems like it's going pretty good. And
Yeah,
there's
hopefully.
enough brush cleared on both sides that you can almost get in there with a dump truck, a small dump truck
Oh, okay, you're on the
And-
trail, yeah.
No,
on the trail.
well, this is the trail policy.
This is, no, this,
trail survey.
this is a survey.
Oh, this is a
Remember
survey,
that?
okay.
On that?
Okay, I'll give you some background. Was it 13 years ago?
It was in 2003
Okay,
that the Open Space Committee conducted a survey of all the residents. We sent out questionnaires to each resident, asking them their feelings about trails. And the results of the survey came back. We sent out almost 4,000 mailings. We got about 25% responses, and of the people that responded, about 60% stated they didn't want any trails at all. The other 30-some% said that they wanted soft trails in certain areas. But they had to be natural trails, like mulch. And the remaining 8 to 10% said they wanted hard trails. So that was a result of the...
Yeah.
The reason we took the survey was because, quite frankly, there was a lot of differences of opinion, both on our committee and by residents and by the township board about the trail issue. So we decided, let's conduct a survey. That was back in 2003, I believe,
So about 10 years ago.
about 10 years ago.
When was the Meridian Trail built? Because I'm
We're not talking bike paths now. We're talking
Trails.
Trails through the open space.
Trail for the
Okay.
open space.
Yeah, that's,
Like the one we have at the wildlife sanctuary.
right. Have you been on that one? Okay.
And because even after the survey was taken, and we kept referring to the survey about how we, even after the survey was taken, there were some differences of opinion, so we established a trail policy that we use as a guideline. And it continued to be a controversy, and decided, well, 10 years have passed, so maybe we should conduct another survey. So that's what Pat is doing now.
The real
Okay.
problem here is, and we have not really addressed it in a civilized way, and that is that people who live close to the trails don't like them. People who have to vacate their own environment, come to where the trail can get into from a street, they like it, and that's the
Yeah.
reason why it's the way it is.
Yeah,
So we figured the dynamics of the island residences changed quite drastically in the past 10 years. And it might be a good idea to go out and survey the residents again and find out what their feelings are now.
so that's why Pat is doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
She's going to do for the soft trails.
Yes, and Brian and I
Done
are,
for the hard trails.
right, and we're trying to differentiate very clearly in the introduction to both surveys. This is an open space, soft trail. This is a bicycle path. We're trying to sort of get the terms,
Trying to get them to tie together, but make people
Yeah.
understand that they're distinct.
yeah, to make them
and different.
understand it, yeah.
Some of the things that they have are in common, but not
Yeah.
everything.
All right.
Not everything.
So by October,
I'll have a draft.
have a draft?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
I held up on it because I wanted to see what was going to go on with this ordinance, because in the introduction, I want to state that we have an ordinance. One of the problems we have with maintaining the trails is that people go in there with motorized vehicles, which really tears up the trails. And although if you look, you can find things that say you shouldn't do it, but it's so scattered that the average resident is not, it took me 2 hours to find what we were talking about. And I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't go up to someone and say, okay, I'm giving you a fine because you were doing this, if there's no way for them to really know they
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. So that's what we'll be talking about,
Yeah.
the ordinance will be under the
Right.
action items.
And we'll be discussing the
Yeah, we're
ordinance.
discussing it.
Just to underline what Pat has just said, I did find the opportunity to talk to Ellen Valiquette and ask them about it, and then I sent it to the other
Yeah.
Pat, the one that resigned.
That's
And
okay.
wondered, but
She's taller than I am, so that's why you remember.
and I was working and I didn't remember. But I love
Yeah.
her.
All right, the next item we have is the wildlife sanctuary trail work. Pat, that's your area, and
Yes. Well, the good news is the Garden Club has donated money for us to put a bench when we get the trail ready. When you enter from Morkland and you walk down, the trail sort of branches. And as I've been in there quite a bit in the past year or two, I keep thinking, wouldn't it be nice to just sit down and enjoy it?
Right.
So I approached the Garden Club and asked them if they would be willing to donate a bench for us to have in there. And they did. So the bench money is there. I agreed that we would put a plaque on it. They would like the plaque to be in memory of the past Garden Club president who had actually donated the land. And they'll be writing it up. I said,
That is who? Who is that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Okay. I had trouble remembering what I was saying here. And so that's going to be happening. And we'll make sure that it's put down so that nobody who thinks it's a really nice bench want to put it in their yard. So we'll have it
You're going to have it
secured.
stationed into the ground.
Yes, yes. There are two approaches that have been presented to me. And then we have the Boy Scouts on hold. They've been on hold all summer, ready to spread the last part of mulch. And I went through, and there's enough fallen trees there, just the right size, because I measured them, to be able to outline the trail. Okay? So it'll be a really nice looking trail. And then I have one of the garden club members, don't ask me her name, and she's going to go through and see if there's anything that we should really put a sign on and say, this is really neat, you should know what it is,
Yes.
other than the poison ivy that we all know is there.
Right.
So I think when we get done, it'll look really nice.
What are you going to do about the poison ivy?
Just going to leave it there.
Just not have any on the trail. I mean, we're not going to go and get rid of
Some
it.
people are allergic to poison ivy even when they're within 20 feet of it.
Well, they won't go in the woods.
But then they shouldn't go on the trail.
But
I mean-
then we should notify them that there's poison ivy there.
Put a sign
But
up
if
on
they're
the-
that allergic-
Yeah, on October, yeah.
That's what I'm alluding to.
If they're that allergic, should they
They
not
know
know
not
what it
better.
looks like?
I
mean, I'm
I can't.
terribly allergic to it, and I made it a point to know what
I
it
can
looks
roll
like.
with it. It doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother me
Well, the
either.
sign would be nice too.
When I was a kid,
just in
I used to
case
get it real
people
bad.
to realize that that looks like poison ivy.
A warning sign? I mean, it's all over the place. How
Yes, it
many
is.
signs do you
And
want?
We went in and took a lot of it out, and the chunks of the poison ivy was this big around.
Yeah, you'd have to have it killed by a weed killer.
It'd have to be, you really need to destroy it.
Destroy the
that's-
poison ivy?
Yeah, that's
Or you wanna
a
pick it
logical
up?
thing to do.
Pick it up.
Yeah, you'd
I don't want to
have
pick it out.
You'd have to have it sprayed.
Yeah, you
By
have
a
to spray it.
professional.
Yeah,
every year.
Really?
Yeah.
but that is really the critical thing, because people will, they will use the path to take their youngster on a
Would it
push
be
cart,
s-
something through there.
Would it be sufficient to put a sign at the entry and say
Poison ivy.
poison ivy
Poison
area?
ivy.
But what I'm saying though is that.
Because
if
once you
if
start that, don't you have to keep spraying to keep it out?
Well,
What we can do is we can make a little sign, and then we can just...
so what I'm alluding to though, Cliff, and that is that some people may not know that their child is allergic to poison ivy. And if you're going to take them into an area that has the poison ivy spores in the air,
Yeah.
and they happen to be allergic to it, they could become contaminated.
What we can do is we have a trail sign on each end.
Right.
What you can do is have somebody make a little sign.
Make it a little bigger than little so they can
And
see.
then
Beware of poison
just
ivy.
put it down below the other one, so you beware of poison ivy.
The truth is that what Art's suggesting with an insecticide, I'm sorry, or an herbicide, is not a bad idea. Take it out.
Take it
With
out.
chemical. Yeah, take it out.
Yeah, because you may not know that your grandson, for example, is allergic to poison ivy.
Well, I don't think that we can protect the world from everything,
No.
but we
Yeah.
can certainly help.
Something that's
If
easy
there's
to
a big
identify.
if there's a big outcropping of it over there,
Poison ivy is easy to identify.
five gallons around it.
got it all over there.
Well, but there's more than one
That's how
type
to
of poison
identify.
ivy on this
Yeah,
island,
right.
too.
yeah.
There's poison ivy,
To that
poison
issue, I
oak,
guess
poison
once what
sumac.
we can do is we can investigate, see what it costs to have somebody come there with herbicide.
It's a couple $100 professionally. It's
Yeah,
just not a big.
it's a lot of money.
Okay. Now, what other, is it your big problem is getting the mulch, is that the big problem right now?
Well, can I just
Oh, I'm sorry.
settle on this poison ivy thing?
Please.
Should I look into how much it would cost and who?
Why don't you ask Barry if he's got a...
I'll take that on, I'll ask
Okay.
Barry.
I know exactly what it costs. My wife has it done every year.
See, you got an expert right, Daryl. Daryl, can you look into that?
I can look into that.
Okay, I'll
Please?
put your
I
name
can see,
down.
Okay,
yeah, I can
please.
see how much
Okay,
that runs.
all right. And that would be to
Because,
spray both sides of the trail. Is that,
Well, you're not going to indiscriminately Agent Orange the whole thing either, you know.
yeah.
I've got a trail
Well,
700
find it.
feet long.
Oh,
Oh, he's got
and
it.
you removed it all?
It's been sprayed.
How
Yeah.
awesome.
My wife,
Would you find out how often it has to be done too?
once a year.
Once a year. So we
Once
would
a
have
year
to
in the
put that
spring.
in as a
Once a year.
line item in our budget for maintenance.
Sure.
Okay.
I would
And how long is that trail? I can,
482 feet?
Probably be a good match.
You couldn't
That'd be a
remember
good
Bill's name,
match.
but you can remember.
Bert, you had
how
something?
long
Yeah,
it
I was gonna
was.
say, I would want to look into
I'm
what
better at
is,
numbers.
yeah, that's a
what
good,
is being
Oh, here we
used.
go.
I mean, it's one thing for individuals to decide to use herbicide on their property, but,
I can tell exactly what's being used and how much it's gonna cost.
yeah, and how toxic it is to other things and things like that, because,
Hasn't bothered us.
You can't burn it,
Yeah,
because burning it puts it airborne.
I mean,
Well, yeah, and
You
then.
can't dig it all because it gets
nature,
worse.
learning
Yeah.
how
No,
to
but
talking about-
everything you spray
exist
it.
in it. And
I mean,
You're
the
talking
fact
about
is,
unintended
almost everybody,
consequences?
right. Almost everybody is, unless you're a very fortunate person, everyone is allergic to poison ivy to some degree.
Yeah.
Some people, may be more, ultra sensitive.
Some people are not even sensitive if they touch it.
Yeah,
They
can roll
get
it.
from
Other
here.
people roll
What
it.
does this
they gotta
conservancy
roll it.
do when they
Yeah,
take
my yard,
people on
doesn't
the
bother me.
walking tours and
I
everything?
walk through it.
I
They
mean,
say, look out for poison ivy.
but
If
you
you've
don't
had it
spray or
as a
anything.
youngster, you know,
Look,
you
just
grow
see this sign
immune
coming
to it.
out, poison
You grow
ivy,
immune to it.
snakes.
Because I had it as a
Rabbits,
youngster when I was 9 years old,
Teenagers with
Yeah.
beer bottles.
and now I don't get it anymore.
Yeah, you can pick all the sides at once, so one post.
Right, it's
Yeah.
a
I
terrible
think
thing
to
when you
that
have
point,
it.
before we put any herbicide down, it's got to be,
Why don't we look into
Very well.
what
Yeah.
the prices and then we'll
Get an
we'll
idea how
determine
much is
later.
there, too.
yeah. All right,
You have to,
okay,
Okay, what's
And you'll
next?
have that for the next meeting?
yeah, I'll have that for you.
Gotta have it for you tomorrow.
I'll have it for you if I would have brought my phone.
Yeah, but we'll discuss it in October.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, where was I? On the trail work.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had mulch ready to go in, speaking of poison ivy. And they found out that the mulch that they had was full of ground up poison ivy.
Nice.
So we did not get that load of
Good,
mulch.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would be a lot further than we are.
okay.
So that's where we are, and,
I didn't hear that part of the story.
yeah, that was
No wonder it was
interesting.
free.
Who's, did you get a hold of Keith on that one?
Yeah, Keith, next week. I mean, I've been hearing that for a while, but he's got all these orders. It's one of these things. He called and said he had the mulch. Then he called back and said the lady that he got the mulch from decided she wanted the mulch. So that ended that load. And
got
then
other
the other
cutters.
one was full of poison ivy. And then we had the rain. And then, I mean, that's called working
You got other cutters.
with nature.
Can we get TNT to?
No, I talked to TNT and they were bringing mulch.
If you want
I
to go
was-
ahead with TNT, we can do that.
I've already talked to them.
Okay, so should we just go ahead with that?
Well, no, let everybody bring it.
Oh, okay.
And I told TNT that, you guys have done such a good job with the trees and everything, the clearing in there, that they can
Right.
back in with a small truck
Okay.
now, and dump. And, the other guy can too,
Okay, well,
Now everybody's gotta go across the bike path, though.
no, you can get it from
No,
Morkland.
you can go right in on the trail now and dump.
Yeah,
It's open.
Oh, you know it's open.
You
But
can
you
go
don't-
in from the other
Other
end,
side.
but you don't have
Yeah.
to.
But you
Yeah.
can't,
From
you don't
Morton.
want to go in from the other end yet because it's too fragile. But you can go in and dump right on the trail now.
Now,
With
you're
a
saying you
small
can go
dump truck.
dump and
yeah, that's what
they
we're
say it's too
trying.
fragile. Now, what side you going in at?
Morkland.
You're going on Morton. That's all.
Yeah,
Everything
right.
will be dumped, you head as far south as you can and dump, instead of building north.
Yeah, on the north
Yeah, but
end.
you can't,
So
from
I-
now on, you can't go across.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, Keith can back right in
So,
there.
okay, so are you going to do some coordination with
Well, I
DTE?
have. I have with.
So that's going to be coming.
Yeah, but do your coordination too, because we need all the mulch we can get.
Yeah, but whenever we get mulch, I have to know about it so I can get the Boy Scouts there. I mean, we've got the pitchfork sitting there, we've got the
Right.
wheelbarrow sitting there.
But Keith.
We need the mulch.
But Keith has been shoving it along the trail.
Yes, and he has
So-
filled in, well, Keith has filled in the low parts, but Bill Liver
Senator, yeah.
has spread it.
Good,
And so we've had a joint effort here going on.
good.
The only piece we haven't been able to do is get the Boy Scouts in there to finalize.
I think
Yeah. The Boy Scouts now, when we get it all spread, they can come in and bring the edges in
Right,
and,
right.
bring the mulch in the middle, fill in real nice.
Okay, just to summarize, then, I'll keep working with our guy here in the island. You're going to be working with DTE,
TNT.
TNT, DT, yeah, whatever. And then,
Yeah, I've been watching.
There's a little difference.
I do much better with numbers than I do with names. So anyway, and then I'll keep track of what's happening and bring the Boy Scouts in whenever we got something to do with it.
I think
Okay.
when TNT,
We got a plan.
see if you can get them to commit to a date
Get a plan, we
as
get
the
too
one he's
many
going to dump,
people
so
fixing it,
that,
it'll go to hell in a
Pat
handcart.
can have the Boy Scouts lined up and ready to go.
Right. But
Yeah.
if he can't get in, he's going to dump it right in front.
Okay,
If he's got a big truck, he's going to dump it
all
right
right.
in front.
Okay.
So we're done with the trail.
Okay, all right. Okay, Pat, is there anything else now as far as the trail issue is concerned?
No, I think that's it for now.
Okay. Okay, one of the issues that we've been having for quite some time, maybe we haven't realized it, is that when we try to enforce proper use of open spaces, we have to look in this document over here and the zoning ordinance, which sometimes isn't very clear. When we want to have no dumping, we have an ordinance which covers that, but and that's in a document someplace. And Pat said maybe we should adopt an ordinance, a single document which is very simply prepared so that everybody understands the proper use of open spaces. When you go into the open space, everybody's welcome to do that, but there are certain things that you should do and certain things that you should not do. And maybe we can post it. So, having said that, the session that Pat and I had, in front of you we have a proposed draft of an open space usage ordinance, which I've sent you, and hopefully, which maybe you've had a chance to look at. And what I'd like to do now is to have everybody look at it and comment on it and make any changes that you feel are necessary. Because basically, what I want to do is I want to, Wally, if you're in agreement with whatever comes up, that you, here it is, Woody.
I got him reading it.
Yeah, that we present this to the township board and it becomes a formal ordinance which can be easily understood and therefore enforced.
My only comment on the draft is that the dollar amount of the fines,
Okay?
I need to check what our limitations are on them, all right? And our township attorney should guide us there.
Okay.
And we need to probably talk to him about what constitutes illegal conduct.
Ah,
Okay.
Those
to-
are two questions I'd have for our township attorney.
Okay. I know the dumping of trash, the $500 fine, was a motion by the prior township board at a meeting where, now this is going before, I think, when Kirk Kovalak was supervisor.
So I was on that board.
Yes, and I think there was a motion to impose a $500 fine.
That's entirely possible, but it's 5 years ago
Yeah,
or 6 years ago, and I want to know.
okay.
And I think we want to know.
And the other one, the use of a $500 fine for motorized vehicles, is not clearly stated in any document that I'm
Well,
aware of.
There are a couple of areas where, and I forgot to bring my copy of it too, I'm kind of getting old as, us working people are.
Okay.
About impounding of vehicles and fines. I got to make sure we're in good legal footing on there.
Okay. I knew.
And those are good discussion items.
Yeah, my thought process, and under what Pat had suggested, and Kevin, a condensed document, is that the committee here would say, go over this thing, maybe there's some changes that we want to make tonight. And then we'd prepare a final draft, and then it would be presented, not to the township board for approval, but we'd give you a copy to each board member
For discussion.
for discussion.
Yeah.
And for research. In other words, are there any legal implications in here?
That's correct, and you have to have a
Yeah.
discussion before you can have an action item.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I mean. So I'd like to have this eventually as an action item.
Sure.
But as we did with our open space policy, we went through the process. A draft was given to each board member for discussion, for review, and then they got back to us to reword. So we reworded it, everybody signed off on it as far as the discussion, and then it was finally presented for approval.
All right.
And
And it
that's
wasn't for approval.
But it was not approved.
What are you going to use to identify a violation?
What do you mean?
Who are you going to use to identify a violation, or what are you going to use to identify a violation?
We're
I don't
not
understand
empowered
the
to do
question.
that. That takes a-
Motorized vehicle comes through, he's gone, what are you going to do? How are you going to find him? You don't know who it was, you know nothing about it, no
Isn't-
police around?
Isn't this part of this Chapter 1, Article 1 that says who
Yeah.
enforces this?
That's part of the question, yes.
Yeah.
That's part of the question, but the thing is, how do you find out who it was that went through?
Oh, you mean who's doing
If you
the,
see somebody
Who
doing
did
it,
it? I mean, I see
Yeah.
I see a motorized bike go through, because, I live right where there's an entrance to one of the pieces of property. And that's going through private property to get into the open space property. But what I'm saying is, if you see somebody violating it, by the time you can get a policeman there, he's long gone.
but
The
you
only way I'd
wouldn't,
know is if it was...
but you wouldn't want to encourage citizens to go out and say
No,
anything.
no,
That
no,
wouldn't-
that's what I'm saying. You gotta have
So-
something that's enforceable, or otherwise it's gonna be meaningless.
Yeah, you have to have a police
I
officer.
guess that's where
present.
the drift is that let's make sure it's something that's not
Yeah.
unenforceable.
Yeah, because,
I could see this being called an open space usage guideline.
yeah, but...
Yeah, that might be the way to go,
I'm
but-
talking about I'm going back to the penalty, Walton. The idea of the $500 penalty. That is supposed to make it so that people won't do it because
Sure.
it's expensive.
But
But
what
how- to get
what you're
caught.
missing that I was saying is that that's a separate ordinance.
Yeah.
I know, I understand.
And we'd have to enforce that through an existing ordinance right now. I'm not sure of the amount of $500 if
Well,
that's the right
but what
amount.
I'm saying, though, is that the idea of being able to identify somebody that's made this violation, it's like somebody getting into your house and robbing it, okay? That's a violation, and it's not in an ordinance of any kind, okay, but it's a violation. But in order to get any kind of enforcement of that violation, you gotta know, you gotta be caught.
Yeah.
And then how
That's
do
the
you
same-
catch them?
That's the same way with any law that's broken.
Sure.
Yeah.
In other words, you have to catch the
Right.
person who did it, regardless of what it is. But the purpose behind this ordinance is to get everything relating to proper open space usage by the residents in so that everybody understands it.
Right.
And it's to the point where it's so understandable that this could be posted. Instead of the no dumping signs that we have,
Right.
we can post this ordinance on the open spaces. And then, if for sake of argument, let's say the police observe somebody running through there with their bike, and they catch them, you just don't say a wink and a nod. The guy is subject to a $500 fine, and that's what the attorney has to determine.
You write them up.
Yeah.
My point is this. If you took out the verbiage regarding the amount of the fines or the imposition of the fine, and you called this a guideline, that would go past just like that.
Well,
It's
I
already
went down,
passed. The
The guidelines?
$500 is already passed.
It's not passed under this ordinance. It's a separate
it's
ordinance.
a separate
But
ordinance.
your township passed it.
My township passed an ordinance for operating mechanized vehicles on the bike path.
You know, Raytha
Bike
was on the
path.
The
board.
bike path.
The bike
Raytha
path,
was on it.
So,
That was dumping.
right.
That whole issue was
That-
dumping.
that-
Now,
That was
the,
dumping.
That was dumping.
the two things, that new, at the end of Parkway, by the water, that new little park we put in, you go down there, they have this ordinance posted, you know exactly what you should or should not do there.
does it say ordinance on it?
I
Forgive me.
believe so, yeah.
I thought it said guidelines.
Yeah.
And secondly, when I've been out doing my trail walking, I have encountered people who are on motorized vehicles, totally enjoying themselves. And when you say to them, do you know that you're really not supposed to be here? Now, they could be pulling my leg. I mean, that does happen. But they really seem, one, surprised, because people are so used to going up north with their motorized vehicles and just running through the woods, that in all honesty, the people I spoke to didn't really think they were doing anything wrong. So that's why I started this, saying, look, we know that it's causing disruption and making it hard to maintain it. We know our residents are enjoying it. They would probably want to help us maintain it. But we can't say that this is illegal if we don't let them know that they shouldn't be doing it. So that's what spearheaded all
And
this.
I don't have a bit of a problem with the intention. What I guess I'm saying is that if this was written up as a newspaper article, all right, and just put out as guidelines.
Well, how can they
And
have
then-
an ordinance at the other park?
No, I'm not arguing it.
Oh, okay.
But please don't,
I'm sorry.
don't defend it, because I'm not
No,
trying
no,
to
I'm
offend you.
curious.
They have an ordinance at the other park that says sunset to sunup,
Right,
and no running of dogs.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you want to go out there at night with me and watch people running their dogs?
No,
The ordinance isn't worth the paper it's printed on, because there's no enforcement, and that's what Art was coming to.
yeah.
So it's education. And we have an ordinance that exists now that says that if you're caught riding a motorized vehicle on the bike path, you can be subject to a fine of $500. I
Okay.
don't see a reason that the township board would not agree to switching it to any bike, or open space path. A minor change of wording. Now you got the ordinance to stop the motorized vehicles. The rest of the stuff is guideline.
Okay. So we need to tweak this.
Well, that's what I guess we go
Guidelines.
back for a month and study it.
I think that this is what,
That's what I wanted. That's the
yeah.
purpose why
Sure.
this draft was prepared, so that we could sit
You know
down
where to start.
and tweak it. Okay? And
this
that's, so what do you propose we do on this, Art?
well, I think that in conjunction with what Wally said, that in other words, we owe it to the people to let them know what is not right. Okay?
Agreed.
Now, what we
It's not
do,
acceptable.
yes, but what we do about it is tough to enforce unless you catch them.
Okay.
Okay? You can't expect them to stop it unless there's some
Okay. So what
some way of catching them.
So what you're concerned about is the enforcement edge of the, not necessarily,
Uh-huh.
not necessarily.
but we should-
People need to know that this is not up north. Then people need to know that you can't take
That's
an
fine.
off-road
Absolutely.
vehicle on there,
Right.
even if you got an off-road vehicle sticker, because Grosse Ile prohibits
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
absolutely, we owe it to them to take what Pat had suggested before, and Wally said it, and I alluded to it too, and that is that we owe it to them to tell them what is not allowed to do.
Yeah.
What is it not expected? That is
Exactly.
normal behavior going through that bike path.
Well, let me just, I agree, people need to be informed what's allowed, but guideline, to me, is a suggestion. I can follow it or I don't have to. Ordinance means what's allowed and what's not allowed. And, I mean, every law can be broken, and if it's not, and hard to enforce. But, so if you see somebody going in a property with the motorized vehicle, they have to come out somewhere. And you can call the police, and maybe they'll catch them, and maybe they won't.
Well, let me give you an example of what I see all the time. I live on a little street that's only a couple blocks long on Laurie. And there are people who regularly exceed the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And I mean, they just go, gone. And, you know, you don't even, unless it happens to be a neighbor or something that you would recognize, you can't even get a license plate because the car is
So
up and
fast.
gone before time. So the only way that you can have that effective is if a policeman catches them, because he can give them the siren and pull them over and give them a ticket.
Yeah, but what's the basis of his giving me a ticket?
Well, because
Because he violated an ordinance.
That's right.
An ordinance
Yeah.
being what?
You can't
The
exceed
25 mile per hour speed
Right.
limit
in a residential area.
in a residential
Yeah.
area, okay? And that is what we're doing here.
Giving them an idea what's
Yes.
acceptable and what's not.
I agree with you.
I do too.
My personal, a guideline means, if I don't feel like abiding by it, that's my business,
Do you
not
think putting a
yours.
$500 fine on it is going to stop those people?
No,
The chance of it?
no.
That's my argument. It's-
Yeah, I agree with that
They're
because
going to take the
I,
chance. I go up north every weekend and there's people doing 90 miles an
Yeah.
hour
Yeah, I
on the
gave a
expressway
copy of
because
this
most
to-
of the time they get away with it.
I gave a copy of this
Here, they don't get away with it.
to Joe Pulsarelli, okay? And he raised the same question that we did as far as the illegal conduct. That was a little
Okay.
ambiguous. He said he didn't have a problem with the rest of it. Now, that's just one person. But unfortunately, it was the chief of police, okay? Because ultimately, he's the guy that's going to probably enforce it, either that or Tony Gray, depending on what it is, you know?
Tony Gray's been rather reassigned in his duties.
Yeah.
So Tony Gray's got enough work for any 4 men.
Oh, I know that. But here's the point is that we need a concise set of regulations concerning proper or improper use of open spaces. You're welcome to go there, you don't need permission to walk through the open space. You walk through there at your leisure and enjoy nature. But these are the things that you should abide by, and what we're trying to do here is get it down to a understandable set of regulations that everybody can understand. And if somebody is caught or observed violating these regulations, they can be warned. Or if they should be fined, they'll be fined.
look at number 5. Use of open spaces limited to daylight hours only.
Yeah.
What are daylight hours?
We can say dawn till dusk if you
Dawn to
want.
dusk.
Sure.
Okay.
Would that
Okay.
clarify it?
Well, all I'm
Can
saying
you
is that-
disturb the peace or have illegal conduct in other places than the bike paths and not have a problem? The answer's obvious.
Yeah.
I don't think we
right.
even need that.
That's why we're having this
Sure.
discussion.
I think tighten it up, make it concise, give it to people in an informative, nice little letter to the editor or something. This is all we've done this year to your open spaces and bike paths, and these are the things that we need you as citizens to do. Help us by making sure that you don't allow people to go on it with a motorized vehicle. Help us to make sure that if you see somebody bringing a truckload of junk down the end of the
So
road,
I guess what you're saying is that we don't need an ordinance.
I think you got to try it as a guideline first and then appeal to the people. People, they'll tell you to take the ordinance and stick it
But
because
why?
they won't abide by it.
What do you mean, help us?
Enlist the people, the
What
population.
are they going to do?
What are they going
They're
to
going
do?
to call you, they're going to call me,
They're going to call the police department if they see a motorized vehicle.
but then,
So what's the
We
difference?
don't have any enforcement authority. We're a recommending body.
but I guess maybe I'm just too new and I'm not sure
No.
what applies where, because if you're not interested in an ordinance prohibiting motorized vehicles in open space, but you're asking people to report motorized vehicles in open space, what ordinance
We
is?
have an ordinance
Where is it?
for motorized vehicles
On the bike
on
path.
bike paths. And I just said, all we have to do is modify it to make it bike paths or open space pathways. And you
Okay.
got it
Okay.
covered. So
Okay.
we don't need to make another ordinance. That'd be duplicative.
Okay, that's one portion of it,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
All right, now what about the dumping?
Dumping of trash or debris, is it allowed anywhere else on the island? I think we have I'm not sure, but I think we have an ordinance that talks about
Yeah, what's the fine?
illegal disposal. And I don't know that,
Okay. Well, I think
but I think
it's,
it's ridiculously low. It's like $50.
I think it's 500.
It's 500.
It's
Is it?
500.
Yeah.
Because when you mentioned Rathel, John Rathel made the motion and it was accepted at the board. $500
We
fine.
said 50 or 100, and he says it's too light. So he
Well,
went.
I don't argue that would be too light,
Yeah.
and that's what I was saying. People would ignore it. But the point is that there is an ordinance of dumping trash anywhere. Not just on the open space properties.
No, it's anywhere on the
Sure.
island.
So again, there's a piece that
Yeah.
could come out of this. And we just need to sharpen up our knowledge of what we do have in enforcement. And I believe right now,
Exactly.
number one's covered by an ordinance already. Number two, with modification, could be eliminated from this proposed guideline. Obviously, construction of structures or encroachment in open spaces is not allowed. And that should stay there. But illegal conduct and disturbing the peace is, our ordinance,
So
our
are you
police
saying that
officers
should
can
be-
enforce that right now.
That should be out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't need it in there.
You want to take it out?
You take it out.
Use of all public facilities on Groseal is limited to daylight hours only, dawn and dusk. That park, the park at the end of Groseal Parkway,
But you
this area,
still, a teenage 16-year-old is, what's he gonna say is dawn to dusk?
Yeah.
what are you gonna do about it
If he's there.
if he's there?
Nothing.
This is what I'm, well, I don't know what you're gonna do, but all I
You
know
can't do
is,
much about it other than run them out.
well, but the idea is, I know that there's a lot of abuse over at the playscape that's behind,
The bank.
Which is
Oh,
one
yeah.
reason why they want to get
One
rid
of
of
the
it.
reasons is that they want to take it out.
yeah, well, what I'm telling you is,
And it's a dirty shame because it's just probably 2 or 3 individuals that are
Right.
doing all of this.
I
So-
don't know. All I know is that it's, it's tough for the police to enforce something that they can't see. So
Oh,
when it's
yes.
out of sight, it's out of eye.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, the police are not gonna go back into the bike path, into the
Well,
trails
they
that are.
put signs up there
in the
that this is
property.
closed at night too.
And we're not,
Yeah.
I think we're enough realists to know that they can't, and they won't do it. The only thing of it is, if by chance somebody is caught doing it, they can be held accountable.
Right.
They have done that behind the bank. They have had police officers come in from the other side and just watch. And they have caught some kids a couple of years ago doing the same thing that we're trying to fight them off now.
Okay.
Now, when in your day and my day, the great enforcement was over your knee with a paddle. And that worked. But we can't do that anymore.
So, okay, to summarize, what you're saying, well, I want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. You're saying we currently have an ordinance about dumping trash. It's not allowed. $500 fine. Number 2, we have one for the bike path,
But can
and we can modify to
it.
say any place.
Yes.
Bike paths or trails.
Let me go back and.
I'm trying to understand what he's saying.
Let me go back and tell you that I know of a couple of spots that people are cutting their grass and they're taking it across the street and dumping it on the property immediately in front of their property, but on the opposite side of the street.
Right, that's going on all the time.
I know.
It goes on all the time.
But
So should we say, since we can't enforce it, that we're just not going to have anything out there saying
No,
you don't
all
do
I'm
it?
saying is that, the police can see this. If there's an ordinance against dumping trash, then, the police should be able to say, hey, Kester, you can't dump those grass clippings across, just take them through the ditch and dump them on the other side. Hey, one guy's even got he's even got a little wooden bridge, that,
Yeah.
so he can get across the ditch.
Yeah,
The,
I know.
But But you know, so it's very obvious
Yeah.
that he doesn't pay any attention to any regulation or any rule or any ordinance that he's not supposed to do that.
Well,
However, if you gave him the guideline in a simple statement,
Yep.
and you caught him, and you said, listen, he's gonna cut the grass tomorrow night, Joe, get somebody down there, just drive by, see if you can catch him. If you can catch him, you put a stop to it.
Yeah.
I compost. I got a compost pile in my backyard. It's, wire mesh one's about 4 foot tall, but it's on my property.
Yeah, that's
It's
different.
behind my barn. It
That's
doesn't
it.
offend anybody.
You're allowed to do that. That's
Sure.
different. That's different than putting it on somebody else's
Putting it
property.
on somebody else's property. I've seen people snowplow, push their snow into the street too. There's an ordinance against that. I've seen people do the grass clippings like you have said, and they don't think anything of it. I've seen people clean leaves on Island and Stout, and in the open space areas there, take them out and dump them on the other side. It's clearly something we shouldn't do, but people take advantage of it.
Okay. All right, so item number 1, if you're saying that...
Come on, we just keep on
Just-
going and over and over it.
Just a minute.
Jesus.
Okay, item number 1 and item number 2. I want to get it clarified because we could be here all night talking about it. Construction of structures or encroachment on open space is not allowed.
That's obvious.
That's obvious, okay. We're going to take number 4 out. Number 5, use of open space is limited daylight hours only unless an advance permission is granted by the Public Safety Department. Should that be in there or should that be out?
I don't know what would constitute
When the sun's shining.
No.
From dawn to dusk?
That's the second part of it. But what would be a consideration that would allow them to be in there after dark?
It may
Would
be
you
a
allow,
truth
would
and
you
may be
allow
a
the
truth.
Boy Scouts to camp there at night?
Do I allow them to?
Would you allow the Boy Scouts to camp in an open space at night?
If they received advance permission, I would.
I don't know.
That's
if
the only
I-
example I could give.
Well, that's
But-
why it's in there.
but-
Well, there's
but-
nighttime programs like owl prowls and stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And so if somebody says, okay, we'd like to have this event in open space from dawn to dusk, say overnight, camping. Okay, they ask for advance permission, it's a controlled situation, fine. Or if you have other events at night, that would be allowed. But just but other than that, if you're living by an open space or living adjacent to it, you don't want people going there into the night unless you have advance permission.
Great.
Okay. So you have a problem with defining daylight hours, is that correct?
Oh, because it's different to different people. You know, if you listen to the radio, sunset changes every day.
It was 7:01 a.m. for
You want to
sunset
say dawn
sunrise.
till dusk?
Dawn
Just
to
say
dusk.
8 and leave it at that.
Dawn to dusk.
Good solution.
Let's just do 8 to 8. Then there's no problem down to dusk, light or dark, or whatever the hell you want to say.
Okay.
Well, in the winter, from 5
5
to 8.
5 o'clock.
It's
Somebody
dark.
wants to be out there for
Yeah.
5 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Okay,
God
fine.
bless them.
Okay, dawn to dusk. Okay.
I think we're going with dawn to dusk because
Yeah.
those are daylight
Yeah.
hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tree cutting is prohibited.
Whatever.
Also, dead wood cannot be removed from open spaces unless approved by a waiver from the township. I think that should be in there, and I think that's, it's something that, we have the biannual wood cutting events, which last
Right.
2 have been very successful.
Right.
Okay? So, is number 6 okay?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
No alcoholic beverages or glass bottles allowed in open spaces. That's throughout the,
That's procedure. That's common procedure.
okay, so we don't need that,
No, I think you should mention it.
Okay.
okay?
But, that is a common procedure
Okay,
acceptable in
dogs.
the township.
Are permitted but must be on a leash.
Don't have a problem with that either.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Let's figure out the penalties after we figure out the ordinance.
Okay, so I'm gonna make the revisions, everything,
And
6,
you're-
7, and 8 are okay.
Let me throw another thing in there. You know, we have a I think it's an ordinance, but it's a fine anyway. If you have a dog on a leash and the dog does his business on the front lawn of somebody, you're supposed to have a carry with you,
Bag.
bag, and also to remove the defecation on somebody else's lawn or someplace. So if you got them in the open space property, and you got people going up and down the thing,
Same rule.
it should
It
be.
exists, it exists already.
I see a lot of
Should have
them.
the same rules.
Meridian
So,
don't
should
do
we
it.
add that or not?
No.
It's already out there.
But,
Okay.
I mean, but the idea is that if you're gonna post, don't in here, they gotta know that the dog can't be.
Do its job.
Yep, can't get relief without you having cleaned up after him.
But are you saying it needs to go in here?
Well, that I can't tell you because I don't know what the original ordinance, how it's written.
It's
Well,
a
that can
civil
be looked
infraction. And it's on GITV for the last 10 years. To the point where, the picture with the dog standing upright with the broom and the shovel.
You want to say, dogs are permitted but must be on a leash. Does that suffice as is or not?
And pick up their stuff.
We can add
Clean
something
up your
about,
dog,
Waste.
yeah.
clean up dog droppings.
They've got that statement on the ordinance there, we'll just copy it from,
Okay.
Clean up
okay.
waste.
Are you taking the action to have the ordinance about the $500 for the bike path
I
amended?
will talk to the
All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going
Folks about
to
having it
change
amended
this
for
for our
bike
discussion.
All right,
Then I'm going to give a copy to you,
all right.
okay? And you take it through
I'll take it through legal.
legal, discuss it with your colleagues on the board. The intent is to have a condensed set of rules and regulations everybody understands, and that's our purpose.
Sure.
And then let us know what the board wants to, for a discussion item, and then we'll take it from there.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
So, one, I think the Conservancy would be interested in having these rules apply, or some rules. I'm not exactly sure what rules apply to Conservancy property, but
Okay.
it's the same, same thing. We encounter illegal dumping and
Certainly.
stuff like that, so.
Be
do we
nice to
wanna-
get them past Conservancy and see if we can add to it.
So, all right, so I can
You
run
can
that by.
take it to your,
Let Cliff put together the proposed changes.
I'll make the
And
changes,
send it out to all of us. You take it to Conservancy, I'll take it to rec and bike paths, you know?
okay?
Okay.
And
Okay.
take it to the board, see what they feel about it. I mean, you're gonna run it through legal.
I can talk through individuals about it. yeah.
That's what I
We're
mean.
not to a discussion item yet.
No, what I mean,
After next month, maybe.
yeah, but
Yeah,
you'll
right.
discuss it with the sortie,
Mhm.
okay?
So then my second question is, so, once we boil this down to, we're taking out the things that are already covered by ordinance or potentially covered by ordinance, and then we're gonna deal with the things that aren't as an ordinance that we hope to get passed. But then I think when we do post signs, I think it should include everything, even stuff that's covered by other ordinances, so that it is a comprehensive
Yes.
list.
That's what we're trying to do, is to come up with a comprehensive, because the average resident is not going to go to the computer and look up all of the ordinances or guidelines or rules.
How long did
that
it
they
take
should
you and I to
follow.
find out?
Yeah, I mean, let's give our residents a
Our
break
ultimate
here.
objective is to have these rules and regulations posted on a sign
Right, right.
at the
Yeah.
entrance, not and not limited to trail entrances, on all open spaces.
Right.
Here are the rules and regulations.
Okay.
Okay.
So if they,
And the thing, and if you want to do it, so if you want the signs, read the same thing as far as the Conservancy is concerned, that's fine. We'll supply the signs for you,
Okay,
no problem.
I think we beat this horse hard enough.
Okay, all right.
Well,
We beat it to death.
Okay, all right, I'll get this out to everybody concerned. Next item is the trail policy. Wally, you have got, that's the trail policy that we proposed a year and a half ago, that we reviewed, we sliced it, we diced it, we gave it to the board for
shot it
discussion
down.
items, and it was subsequently rejected by the board by a tie vote. All right, and I think I've given that to you to say if you want to resubmit
Why not?
it, okay?
Why not?
And can you do that for us?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And if you take a look at it, and you might want a suggestion, a recommendation, might give it to the board members as part of a discussion item for, or a one-on-one, or however you want to
I
handle
want to
it.
do it one-on-one and do best
Yes.
that way.
And to give the background, this thing went all the way up to the board. It was ready to be approved, and it was rejected by a tie vote. So have them take another look at it. If we have to tweak a few things, we'll do that.
And at least have them give input as to what needs to be tweaked.
Okay?
Okay.
Just to say, well, I don't like it.
No, you know what, this is a great board this time. Seriously.
Timed out,
And
yeah.
they really do take time to help each other out.
Okay.
I can't be happier to be on a board than I am on this one. And this one really spends a lot of
It's
time.
better, it's
Yeah.
different, yeah.
We've had a great chemistry so far. We don't agree on everything.
Well, you shouldn't, just like we don't.
But, you know,
You've noticed we don't.
Which is good. And don't get upset, Roberta, just because we don't agree on everything.
Oh, yeah.
If we have a difference of opinion, that's what makes us great. Okay, all right. So Wally, you take that to your cohorts and let us know.
I'll try it.
Is there
Okay.
I was looking in this stash of stuff.
Trail
Was that,
policy?
was there a trail policy included in this?
It should be.
Send it to everybody again,
Okay.
all right? Just
Yeah.
email it to everybody.
I believe it should be there, Bert. If it's not,
But it's
I'll
not
send it to you in
passed.
an email.
It's not passed.
Right.
No, it was proposed.
It was
Let me take a
rejected.
shot at it again. Let's see what we
Okay,
can
I'll
do.
send it to everybody. I know it's in your files, but maybe,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And once it gets passed, it will be on the website, so
Yeah.
it'll be there for, we won't have to keep sending it out.
Who updates the website for the committee?
If there's, the ultimate updating of the website is the responsibility of Ted Fournier, based on information that he's given. So I wrote an email to Ted to remind him today to make sure that he includes copies of all the agendas and the minutes of the meetings. And also, I gave him a list of the new members of the meeting, of our committee, rather, so that he can update the website.
There is, right now, a great deal of trouble with our server. It went down over the weekend, and it is not up as of yet. It's gone to the point where tomorrow being payday, they will not be able to get their pay by direct deposit electronically. They're going to have to get paper paychecks. And I guess they're working feverishly to make the thing work. It's an old server. We have purchased $60,000 in new equipment that hasn't been installed yet. So we knew this was coming,
Yeah, okay.
and unfortunately, it bit us at an inopportune time, and we're paying that price right now. So we're going to have to spend money fixing a horse that needs to be put down, and we're going to do that. And then you'll have some capability, and what you're going to be seeing is a much more robust system for electronic information and changes, and a better looking website. Communication Commission's working hard on that.
Okay, good. Okay, the next item is the open space signs. And Pat, you had some, you want me to talk about it, or do you want to talk?
I can talk about it if you
Okay.
want. Okay. Several meetings ago, we had discussed that there was a need for a new open space sign for the area on East River Road. Talking with Cliff, he said, well, there's a sign at the other end, but none on the East River Road. And I thought that it would be a good idea to have an open size sign at both ends, so that you know, you don't have to be on one road to know it's it. You ought to be able to identify it every
Where is
place.
it open?
East River Road, where we did that cleanup.
Yeah,
Where we did the
Yeah,
cutting.
just
There's a
after
sign there,
the
right?
court. Yeah, there's no sign there.
Oh, I thought there was.
No.
Okay.
On East River. So, we had discussed getting a sign, and then I had recommended that I approach another supplier
Yeah.
to get more input as to the price, because the garden club had had a sign made at a very good price. So Cliff, in the interim, has contacted, was it Gray, to have this name put on the bidders list?
Yes.
And the guy that I contacted, notice I'm looking up the name,
Why do you look at me when you say that? I
because,
haven't picked on you all evening.
well, you'll get there. He's in Wyandotte, and it's called Signs and Company, and the person I talked to was Jeff Petty. And he made a suggestion for us to,
Right next door to the ice cream stand.
oh, okay. Yeah, well, he made a suggestion for us to
Good guy.
sort of change our approach to the signs and not have them in wood, to have them in a more durable type of material.
Probably a lot less money.
It's a lot less money. And so I thought that the next time we want the sign, and especially if we want to pursue this, that Mr. Petty has been put on the list now, and we would send it out to get at least 2 quotes. He was suggesting the high-density urethane, and if you want to see the sign he did, it's at the Butterfly Garden at the Centennial Farms, and it maintenance-free. It's quite a bit cheaper.
How much?
Well, it's for the same size and everything is $975.
And we're paying
15,
Oh.
16?
16.
16.
But then if it would go up, if we wanted the post to also be the vinyl fencing post.
Okay, and how much is that?
Well, that brings it up to $1,250, which is still less than the previous.
About $250 less than the signs we have
Yeah.
now.
And that includes installation.
No,
In that
that's
price.
That's the good part.
Yeah, because I don't think you want to go out and dig
I
the
don't think
holes.
so.
And I know you don't want to dig the holes, so,
Maybe
or
you do.
anybody else.
Maybe you do
Now,
that.
Daryl might volunteer.
You do that.
Okay. Now, do we want to put another,
Who do you think dug the holes for the entryway sign?
I have no clue.
I have a
You?
hunch.
I know you're
I
a
have
good
a hunch.
bench maker, and I have to
We-
see you.
We, and another quantity and myself, we put both signs in, and we put in 3 posts on each side of each sign.
Wow.
Where's that?
That's, when? In 1989.
Are these other signs that we have up now?
Yeah, but they're wooden signs, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
may be a
yeah.
thousand. But at that time, I don't think these other signs you're talking about were even available. But
Probably
the idea
not.
is that we got the posts donated by N.A. Manns. They donated the posts and we put it in.
Okay.
But we just drilled the holes down, put three posts in on each side.
now, do we want a sign put in on the opposite side, on the East River side? Is that what we want done?
I just thought it would be a good idea, but we haven't decided on it.
And the other side's on Meridian, is that the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
property?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that sign's there.
that
Yes, it
sign's
is.
there.
Yeah, it is.
Good
It's-
places where it's open there, where the mulch was dumped, you know?
Well, I mean, the mulch was dumped there, everybody's saying, oh gee, I wonder who dumped the mulch and everything, and I
Yeah,
said,
I
oh,
think-
that's an open space, and this one gentleman said, that is not open space. So I thought maybe we should let people know that it is open space.
Got a lot of people that have opinions, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, without making a mountain out of this molehill, if we want to put another sign on there, let's do it.
why don't you just do it?
Just do it.
Okay,
Okay, I'll just tell Tony, go out and get 2 quotes.
Our signs are in good taste, and they do a good job.
Yeah.
Do it.
Sure.
Don't
And we'll get
screw
2
around,
quotes.
do it.
Okay. Okay, there's one item that we went over, and
Yep.
we did not talk about it, and I don't know, I'd like to bring it up now as far as firming up the dump the junk event. Woody and,
Yeah, I talked to Fritz Enterprises today, and they're gonna bring a dumpster over. And if we need another one, they'll bring it, that one too.
What did they arrange with you as far as financial?
They will give us some money.
They're gonna give you a roll-off box,
We're gonna make roll out box, and we're gonna...
and whatever you put into it, they're gonna weigh and they're gonna pay you for it.
Yeah,
Then they're gonna deduct the cost of the roll-off
Yeah,
box.
right.
Yeah.
It's fine.
No, again, I don't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with it last time, but let's just be sure that we all agree on what we're doing there. The last time, we had allowed people to go into that box
Right.
and take steel out of the box.
Right,
Now, if we're not gonna do that,
right.
then we have to tell people,
Well, we can tell them when we're doing it, when we do it next time.
put a sign on there, and make a sign and print it up.
Well,
No removal.
That'll be a real change from what happens now.
Yes,
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
that's why I'm a bit worried about it. But I got another change for you that's gonna be an even bigger worry.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're not, you don't, you think that'll be a problem for you?
We put a sign up. He wants a sign, we'll put a sign up. We'll put it in, he'll squeal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you're gonna have to, because there's another thing you're not gonna be able to do this time.
What's that?
What?
Profit by it.
We're gonna have a one-day
For the-
electronic waste disposal day on the 18th.
Oh,
E-waste.
Okay.
Okay, and what's gonna happen?
It's gonna happen at the same place that you're having to dump the junk.
Okay, fine.
The people that are gonna be administering it are gonna be accepting the material, and there will be no picking of e-waste out of those boxes once it's brought in. So there's gonna be a one-way on
Okay.
e-waste, there's gonna be a one-way on steel.
Right.
And the rest of it's gonna be trash to treasure.
Remember that, Cliff, one way.
One way.
Okay.
The time to settle that is now,
September-
not
And
at
the
the
electronic one is going to be September 19th?
December, no,
18th.
October.
October 18th.
October 18th.
It'll be one day only.
That'll be on a Friday, isn't it? Or is that
No,
Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday.
In
Saturday.
other words, we can now allow them to bring TVs, computers.
Yep. If it
Batteries.
doesn't have Freon in it, but it has a light cord, it's a candidate. All right?
So
So you
who,
got an old table saw or a drill motor, bring it. If you got an old cellular phone, take the battery out. If you got an uninterruptible power supply, take the battery out.
who arranged this?
I did.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you
That's great.
arrange for hazardous material?
Sure can,
I'm still
But-
trying to get rid of my old paint.
but it depends what kind of paint you got. I can
Latex.
talk to you about it. Latex, open the cap and let it get hard and throw it in the trash.
I have some oil
That's
too.
legal. Well, oil base is different. How much have you got?
Okay.
About 10 cans.
I think isn't there a has material?
Wayne County's got them all over the.
Yeah, but you gotta drive to
nice to
You
them.
gotta drive to them, yeah. They won't put a hazardous waste event on Grosse Ile because it's just too small an audience. I
Okay,
asked, why don't you put it in Trenton? It's because they don't want one. That's a good answer.
yeah.
You know, they just don't want one.
So what this is, it involves anything that's electronic,
Mm-hmm.
not Freon.
No Freon. If you
Okay.
got a refrigerator, an air conditioner, a dehumidifier, it can't go in there.
Right. Okay,
Okay.
but if you have a used computer, you can put it in there.
Freon is the same as Isotron.
If you have a used TV, you can put it in.
You got used, yeah,
Anything electrical.
Yeah.
Or electronics.
Yep.
Okay. That's great news.
and it's
That
it's
That's
paid
really-
for by Wayne County. They're excited to do it with us, and they offered an opportunity for one more thing for us if we want it. So they've been working with St. Vincent de Paul.
Okay.
St. Vincent de Paul
Okay.
will put a truck there at the event if you have anybody that wants to donate clothing to St. Vincent de Paul. And that's
That'd
up
be
to you
good.
guys.
That'd be good too.
Now, this is
Well,
18.
you
When
know,
does St.
should have
James
that,
have their
too.
rummage sale, though? We don't want to,
October, right?
we don't want to take away from,
Well, that's something, that's why I'm
People
bringing
who
it up
would
now, because,
But St. James, though, they're in the process of collecting the year-round, for the rummy sale.
Okay.
I thought they only had a certain
They
time
have
frame.
it twice a year, but
They have it twice a
but they're
year.
collecting stuff all the time.
Now, who's going to be,
I
are they
think we
going
ought
to
to
man?
check their date, though.
Yeah,
They-
St. James.
Oh, yes.
No, they,
Early October, so this is.
As far as the electronics is
Middle.
concerned.
The electronic end of it will be one corner, and it'll be manned by people
Yeah,
from
'cause they really
their
take those.
subcontractor, and the subcontractor is called Vintage Electronics.
okay,
Yeah.
vintage.
Is that nice?
That's great.
That's
job.
free.
That's
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Now,
St.
Phil Zito
James thing. I'll
will
look
come
into the
this
St.
time.
James and find
They've
out.
been
Okay,
coming,
thanks.
So we're talking.
Woody, should
October
we, do we need to
or 18th,
revise the
19th
signs or
for
just
the
keep
dump
it the
the
way it
junk?
is?
Is it a
We
change?
Oh,
we are
dump
going
the
to
junk
get
is
free
the
advertising
18th,
from
and the
Wayne
electronic
County
will be there,
about the
waste will
event.
be there.
It's just a one day?
for the electronics waste event,
That was
which means that people off island may be bringing
It's
stuff
fun
too.
to work.
Now, Loretta usually puts out flyers on this.
The county's preparing flyers already.
Okay, so I want to let Lorenda know that she puts out the flyers. This time on the 18th, we made provisions where you can have a lot, but you can't have batteries, am I right?
I asked Lorinda and Barry to sit in on the meeting for logistics, and they did so a week ago.
Great.
So it's gotta be like falling off a
These
log.
people come in on 19th, we tell them to go home.
They bring e-waste, you tell them to go home.
So was that no batteries allowed?
No batteries, no Freon.
Or Isotron. Same.
No
same chemical.
refrigerants, no
Yeah, it's
refrigerants.
it's the same chemical.
Is anything happening on the 19th?
Yeah,
No.
that's the two-day event,
Okay.
right? Saturday,
Two-day
Sunday.
Oh, it's a two-day event,
18th, so it's
okay.
on the 18th. Now,
And
we usually
19th.
put an article in the camera. We will make absolutely certain that that gets in the camera as
As
far
soon
as,
as I get the promotional information, we'll share it and see if we want to incorporate it into ours or make it a separate ad or put it in all the church bulletins or whatever we got to do.
well, what we usually do is we put an article in the Grosse Ile camera. But this time, I think we'll ask, what's her name, Lena, to make a little special effort on this to make sure that this year, we're going to allow electrical, computer parts, no batteries, no Freon, but you can bring your TVs, you bring your computers, and you can leave them Saturday only, 9 to 4.
Yep.
Right?
Saturday
That's good.
only is for the electronic.
Yes.
Woody, you
Okay.
finally get rid of all the matrix.
I don't have any. I don't have any.
Okay.
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 No VCR tapes, by the way. It's got to have an electronic component.
Okay, well, that's great news.
That
Thank you
is.
very much.
That is.
Our regular trash man will pick it up too.
VCR tapes?
What?
VCR tapes?
He picks up, you got a computer and you want to get rid of it,
He's breaking the law if he does it.
he does it.
He's breaking the law.
Well, I can't tell you, I can't help it, but he does it.
Well, it's kind of like putting out an ordinance that says that you can't put e-waste in trash and nobody pays attention to it. We're giving them the right outlet now. Seriously, they're not allowed to pick up, you're not allowed to bury e-waste. There's an ordinance against
Oh,
it.
you put it in a rag bag, they'll take
You
anything.
guys have run into that in Edison.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that group, but
Oh, okay.
I defer to you.
You know,
But I know they'll pick it up because they came in and took it out of my garage. Okay? I didn't put it out the trash bin, but they came out and took it out of my
I bet
garage.
there was some heavy duty sucking up, some flowers and stuff, you know.
I'm just telling you, it's
Sure.
stupid that we pass ordinances and then we don't make any provision for what are you gonna do with the stuff that you can buy in the store.
Yeah, well, let me enlighten you a little further then. There is a take-back policy that is a part of state law now. If you go to Best Buy or you go to ABC Warehouse and you buy a computer, you can take that computer back when it's dead, and they'll accept it from you.
That I can't argue with.
Yeah, that's-
But usually you're talking about not tomorrow, not next year, not 5 years from now, but maybe 10 years from now, when that'll happen. Right now, there isn't a place that, the DTE is pushing these mercury lights, light bulbs that we have.
CFLs.
Yeah, and what do you do with them?
You can take those to Home Depot, you can take them to Lowe's.
You gotta take them back to where you bought them from.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same take-back
Yeah.
philosophy.
Okay, well, all I'm telling you, that's not what we pay to have trash removed from our
Well, the
premises.
idea is to
Trash
keep,
is TRASH.
yeah, the idea is to keep the stuff that is polluting ground out of the ground.
Yeah, well,
Next meeting, we'll discuss on who works what.
New what?
I will work
Next
the electronic
meeting,
events.
we'll find out who's working what.
I'll work the whole
Okay.
electronic.
The volunteer times, yeah, okay, great, okay.
The 18th, you can count on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we adjourn, just want to quickly go around, you have anything to?
I have no comment. Wally?
Wally?
Nope, spoken enough tonight.
I'm done.
Okay. Berta?
None.
So am I.
Motion to adjourn.
I want to ask Bert something before she leaves.
Okay.
A second.
Can we hear it?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we adjourn?
Yes, we
Yep,
are.
adjourn.
Adjourned.
Time.
Okay.
Time out.
Thank you very much for coming, folks.